Well, good afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for joining our webinar today. We'll be focusing on the topic of helping you tap into your project online data with the Power BI toolset within the Microsoft Office 365 platform. All of the sessions we deliver, all of these webinars are recorded, and they're all available on Progility's Vimeo channel, which is available at the URL stated here. We'll also send a follow-up email, vimeo.com/albums5288659. You can access all of the recordings there. As a quick introduction, I'm Rob Hirschman, partner at Progility, specializing in implementing project portfolio management solutions for large enterprises. I'll be your presenter today. I'm also joined by my partner in crime, Ariel Spencer, who is our account manager for the West Coast, who's based outside of Los Angeles, California. And just before we get started, a little bit of background on Progility, who we are, if you don't know us. We're known in the Microsoft and PPM community as experts in all things project portfolio management. PMOs and CIOs typically come to us when they can't easily explain what's going on across all their projects. They often don't know what the resources are working on from a work perspective, and they have a really hard time getting consistent reporting and metrics from their systems to make project-based decisions. When we've successfully worked with large enterprises across multiple industries, have deployed project portfolio management for IT, new product development, research and development, and engineering organizations. So if you are looking for assistance with your PPM solution, feel free to lean on us as a partner. Additionally, we do offer services in this space, project management services, deployment and consulting services to help you get up and running and deploy with PPM, to integrate PPM Project Online with other applications you have, to drive analytics using tools like Power BI, as well as provide consulting and staffing for your PMO. Some of the software-based solutions that are highlighted here today are a data warehouse we have called Hammerhead PPM Data Warehouse, which provides offline data access for all of your project online data, as well as Hammerhead BI, which is a set of templates and data models built into the Power BI application that pull data directly for project online. Additionally, we offer support services so that after you go live, you have someone to lean on around everything PPM related. But our objective today is really to help you understand ways you can better leverage the Project Online application and Microsoft's Power BI to automate all of your reporting and dashboarding needs. So what we're going to be focusing on today is some of the components required and give you a quick demonstration into some of the capabilities and possibilities with the platform. Before we get started, we do want to explain a little bit about what Power BI is. Power BI was released by Microsoft a little over 2.5 years ago as really an analytics platform within the Office 365 suite. It's a cloud-based analytics service that lets you get up and running quickly, that gives you a live look into your data, so it's very dashboard and visuals driven, and allows you to do things like data discovery and ask different business questions. And Power BI as a service is continually morphing, continuously looking at your data and coming up with suggestions and trends and analytics. We're seeing this happen on almost a monthly basis. The really nice thing about your Power BI dashboards and reports is they're accessible from any device, anywhere, anytime, whether you're working on a laptop PC through a browser, whether you have an iPad or an iPhone, there's a Power BI application for those, an Android device. You can access your reports anywhere you are. And it really provides better collaboration and data access across any organization, helping you really visualize and analyze your data. Power BI is a great tool that many organizations are moving to, not just for project management information, but for information from their finance, HR, and accounting systems. To give you a feeling for the different components in Power BI, and you're going to see some of these today and hear about them, really from a service perspective, you've got different content packs that are pre-built to connect Power BI into different applications. You have dashboards, which are essentially aggregations of reports or reporting components from underlying reports. You have visualizations, which allow you to take the data you have in those reports and visualize them in charts and graphs, however you'd like to. And the report is really the underlying component that's going to be pointed to access those dashboards. Behind all of this, we have different data sets, and data sets are made up of different data models that are pointing to different data sources you may have in your organization. And those are actually listed on the left. Those data sources can be things like a software as a service-based solution, like a Project Online. You may have on-premise data that you're housing like an HR or a finance or an accounting data source. You may have different content packs that have been built specific to your organization for your HR, your finance, your IT service management system. Additionally, you can tap into data that's in Azure. So maybe you have databases and applications in Azure. Again, another data source for Power BI. We may have Excel files, and most organizations are rife with lots of Excel running around. You can have those Excel files now stored in the Project Online service, and you can render those through Power BI. Finally, we do have desktop files, and really the basis of any Power BI report is the desktop file that's created that makes the connections, creates the data models, and then is published up to the service. You'll be able to refresh your data depending on the different kind of reports and data models you have and the frequency of that, as well as your licensing. And it does support something called natural language query, which is constantly evolving. Think of that as really a layer of artificial intelligence that lets you ask business questions. Where are my projects off schedule? Or in what location are we finding our projects are not as successful? Or do I have a resource challenge in a certain part of the organization? You have the ability to type in a natural language query, and Power BI is going to query your data and try to come up with suggestions. Finally, Power BI as a service allows you to share and collaborate the reports you have and share them out to users so they can come in an email, they can come through their local device, they can be notified when those reports are changing. So think of Power BI really as a broad analytics and BI platform within the Office 365 suite, and we're going to be able to use that to tap into our Project Online data. So getting to your data in Project Online, there's really two mechanisms to do that using Power BI. In Project Online, there is a Project Online database that has all the data and all the configuration that's behind the scenes that's stored in Office 365. And this is in a protected Office 365 cloud, so you can't go in there and tap directly into the database. So what Microsoft allows you to do is tap into that data using a protocol called OData, or the Open Data Protocol, which gives us really feeds or strings of that data coming out of that cloud that we can then consume with different reporting tools like a Power BI. So then we can tap into those OData feeds, and we can load this into the Power BI service. At the base of it all is something called a data model, and that data model is going to be populated by OData, and that becomes the building block. The data model is essentially the relationship between different elements that are coming out of the Project Online backend database. So you're going to have to develop or leverage pre-built data models for resources, for projects, for time phase information, for issues and risks. A lot of this has been pre-built like by Microsoft and companies like ours to make life easier for you. But the data model drives the connectivity of the data and the relationships between the data, which is really going to drive your reports, which then makes visible your dashboards. So think of it as the hierarchy of data, the data model, the reports, and the dashboards. And the nice thing with the Project Online system is it's a fairly structured application. Everything is coming in a series of buckets: projects, resources, tasks, assignments, issues, risk deliverables. It's all fairly well structured, which makes making relationships between these components fairly straightforward and direct. So if you're interested in using Power BI and Project Online, the first mechanism to get to your data is directly through OData. Now, the types of reports you can build and deploy in Power BI are honestly limitless. If you think about it, you can have portfolio level reports that are going to surface information across one or multiple portfolios you might have in the organization. You may be running programs, which are made up of multiple interrelated projects and non-project types of activities. We can start to group our projects into programs and then report on programs to do program performance or program metrics or program level resources. So portfolios and programs are useful ways to really group our projects and report off them using the Power BI service. The grouping has to happen and the configuration happens in Project Online, but we can then render that in Power BI, which is some of the things we're going to show you today. The core element of anything in Project Online is the project, so all the components of a project. You may want to report on the status and health and risk of that project, so you may have project status reports, project health reports. We also have resource reports, which are going to give us insight into what resources are working on, what their capacity is, where people are overbooked, how they're utilized across different groups, or departments, or divisions. So resource reporting in Power BI is a very popular way to use the tool. We also have the ability to actually do time reporting, and time is kind of a combination of resource and project. How are people spending their time on project and non-project activities? This is really useful if you're doing any kind of chargebacks across the organization. You want to look at how many resources are working on certain activities, what are their chargebacks, you can start doing things like bill rates. So time reporting and things like compliance, who's not submitting their time, or who's submitting their time on time, and are they actually meeting the expectations that you had expected of them. Project Online and Power BI also allow you to surface issue and risk reports as well. So you can look at risks across your portfolio, look at issues, issue management and issue reporting, and integrate these in with projects. So at a project level, we can see issues, risks, deliverables, milestones, action items. That's really about the data model and the interrelationship between these different components. We have a lot of organizations that do schedule-based reporting. They want to do compliance metrics on schedule, on cost, on resources, doing things like earned value. We're getting down to the next level and doing within a detailed schedule, where are we on or off schedule, on or off budget. And things like compliance reports. Who is submitting their time? Who is baselining? Who is not baselining? Do I have orphan tasks that are out there that aren't connected to anything within specific projects? These are some examples of the types of reports you can build and leverage within the Power BI service using Project Online. So really, it's limitless the types of reports you can build. Another way to get to your data, we've got our Project Online service. And a popular way a lot of people are looking at it now is not only using OData, because OData provides you a good amount of the data that's in Project Online, but also using Project Online's API, which gives you access to a lot of additional data in fields. And I'll give you some examples of that. Then staging that data in what's called a PPM data warehouse, which is a formal relational database, which you can store out in the Azure cloud as an example. And from there, you can generate your reports in Power BI. Again, still have a data model, still have reports, still have a dashboards, but sometimes it's useful to have a middle tier, and Microsoft often recommends this middle tier for several reasons. Some of the benefits, with Power BI, you can schedule the refresh, but a lot of times you've got multiple reports that are happening and you're refreshing those on an ongoing basis. That can be inefficient from a service perspective. So sometimes you want to do a back-end sync of this data, and having a data warehouse with formal data structure and data tables can be useful to do on-publish refreshes once a project gets published. The data warehouse understands that. There's an event handler that picks that up, moves the data over, and that can be really good for status reporting. If someone comes in the morning, they forgot to update their actuals the night before, status reports have already run, they want to rerun that. They don't want to wait till a nightly feed or have to rerun all the data. So we can go in there with the data warehouse and do a delta sync, or we can go in and have an on-publish sync. It allows more flexibility from a refresh perspective. It also gives you a historical look into your data. That OData feed is the most recent data coming out, but if we want to maybe stage that in the data warehouse and do some trending and analytics and build some additional tables, it's a really useful way to think about doing that. It also allows you to sync subsets of the data. So not only looking at all the project or all the resource or all the task information, but actually having it set up to just go in and say, sync these 5 projects or sync these 3 tasks. So a data warehouse gives you that capability. We can also, importantly, pull data that's beyond what we call out of the box. So let's say you went into Project Online and set up a series of custom SharePoint lists on different sites. You've got maybe benefits and costs realized, but that doesn't come out through your standard OData pulls. We can pull that out through the CSOM approach, through a synchronization engine, and put that in our data warehouse. It also provides offline and anytime access to your data. So let's say for some reason you can't get connectivity into Office 365. Well, with the data warehouse, you always have access to that data. It's also a really good source for data and systems integration. If you wanted to integrate your Project Online data with another system, a lot of times it's you're taking data and moving it out, preparing it and putting it in a staging area for a system like an SAP or a PeopleSoft, or moving data in. So a data warehouse can be a really good source for taking that information and accessing it. Project Online. So just another way to get to your data, and the end result is going to be a user going into the Power BI application. Well, let's hop in. Let's give you some examples of this. I'm going to demonstrate Power BI in kind of a day-in-the-life scenario here. Okay. So I'm gone into Office 365. You should see this on your screen. And the application I'm going to go to is Power BI. So I'm simply going to click on Power BI. And it's going to take me into my Power BI landing page. Now, the new home in Power BI, which is really nice, is what Power BI is going to do. It's going to surface frequent reports or frequent dashboards that you visited on a regular basis. In fact, it allows you to go down and star those and add them to your frequents list. Likewise, if you have dashboards you visit all the time, they will surface at the top because Power BI as a service knows that you're using it on a consistent basis. So what we can do is we can deploy different kinds of reports and dashboards here. And I'll give you some examples of some Microsoft ones, some examples of some of the ones we've developed, some other examples of some other integrated ones, and some examples, and these are from the out-of-the-box Microsoft report pack. They're going to give you an idea and walk you down a whole set of reports. So these are a series of reports that are built off of the data model that's behind this, pulling Project Online data. In this case, we can look at the portfolio, and we can look at the governance phases. We can look at the projects by type. We can look at the different names of the projects and the health and status. If we want to drill down, maybe we just want to look at our application development projects or just our Agile projects. And then we want to drill down and see which ones are red or yellow or green, and has a direct link back to the data. Simply by clicking on the project, we're going to see all the data about that. What's the cost variance, any issues and risks. We can always sort and slice and dice this. Power BI is very end user friendly. It's really designed to democratize business intelligence as much as anything else. Or we can go in and look at cost reports. This can summarize the information on your costs if you have costs loaded into your projects, either through schedules or high-level cost fields. So again, I want to look at a certain set of projects, maybe by one of my project managers. I'll select those. I can see what the total budget is. Then I can see if I have any cost any projects that have a high cost variance, like this one right here. It looks like it's got an actual cost, a remaining cost. Looks like we're running way over budget on this project. I may want to pick up the phone and make a call. So it really allows for self-service in these dashboards. Or perhaps I want to look at milestones across my portfolio. And maybe I want to drill down and look at the completed milestones and then the ones that are upcoming. But I'm really focused on 3 or 4 projects. So I can then go in, highlight those 3 or 4 projects, and now I can see the milestones that are coming up in the next 30 days. And one of the really powerful things about Power BI is it gives you a direct link back to the data. I want more information about this. It'll take me right over to the project online information, and then I can drill into the specific project I have. Also having risk reports are very useful, and again, looking across the portfolio, looking at my highest visibility or impact risks, drilling into those and finding out who the owner is, why is this a risk, what's going on that. The nice thing about Power BI, I can always right-click, and I can show the data that's behind the scenes. So it's going to take me to the cost and the cost exposure for each of these risks, as well as any of the details. Finally, I'll move forward here with some resource reports. So if I wanted to look at resource availability over time and start to drill into the resources that are red and simply highlight them, you'll see how user-friendly this is. Then what I can do is I can show the data. It's going to give me a sliver into why these resources are overallocated on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis. And this is really dependent on the data model you design, how granular you want your data, and the kind of reports you want it to output. Finally, we can start looking at project status. This is a pretty good way to look at the status of a specific project. Look at the red, yellow, green that's coming over from Project Online. The project manager is, start and finish dates, any information about the work and the cost, and also the milestones. What's the finish variance? Are they late? Are they on time? The ability to drill into all the projects, some of the projects, whatever projects you want to look at, the data is here. And these are some good examples of sample reports that come with Power BI. Now, kind of taking that to the next level, you see we can bubble this information up to more of a portfolio set of reports and dashboards. So this is a portfolio dashboard that shows us across our different portfolios the health, the count of projects, the risks and issues, the total budget, the end cost estimate, the actuals and the variance. And then we can look across the portfolios into a visual and see how we're burning dollars over time and see a full list of all those projects in one place. Now, if I wanted to drill into just the CIO's projects, or the CIO wanted to come in the morning and just see theirs, we could filter this out. Now the CIO wants to know exactly what the red or yellow projects are. He or she can click on those and look at the active issues, risks, the total budget, just for that specific portfolio to see how far off of our baseline we are. And then finally down at the bottom, we have all the data, so we can then drill into it, show the unique data, and we have all the data behind the scenes on each of our projects. This is a more of a portfolio level report or dashboard. We can also start to look at things like strategy if we wanted to do more business strategy across our portfolio. So now we're pulling data on cost, risk, and work into a single report. And now again, let's look at our CIO's portfolio to see how well aligned we are. And what is this big purple one here? Simply by highlighting that, it's going to give us all the data. We see it's the health assessment reporting project. Project health is yellow, quality is green, scope is red. So we may want to pick up the phone and figure out what's going on from this project from a scope perspective. How do we get it back on track? It looks like it's a pretty big, important project. Nice thing is we can also look at non-project kind of portfolios. So here we have all of our maintenance work. We can see all of the maintenance efforts we have going on. Or we can see all of the web projects or our clinical billing if we're in healthcare. So it allows us to group our projects into multiple portfolios and make them viewable very, very quickly and easily. Additionally, sometimes we want to do visuals. So what we can do is we can apply specific visuals or graphics to these reports, as I mentioned. And one of those is a risk grid. You'll see here on the right. So we can very quickly look and see for the CIO's portfolio, what are the top risks? How many do I have that are in red and yellow and green? What are the big ones? Who owns them? Who are they assigned to? What are the key issues? What are the risks that are behind this and all the details? So I can see the active risks and the impact of those. So I can focus in just on the ones that are really going to impact my portfolio from a results perspective. And it looks like these top two ones, one having to do with funding source is a risk, and one having to do with a new risk that was just entered the other day. Finally, we can look at the portfolio from a resource perspective, and we can start drilling in and adding specific or removing specific resources. So show me just my testers, trainers, and product engineers, and what is the forecasted assignment work for this pool over time? Do I have certain projects that are consuming certain resources? So now I see, if I go to the purple resource here, that is my training resource. And I know that if this project is off schedule, maybe I have a challenge with training. Maybe I have a resource constraint or a resource challenge here. Then I have the ability to actually drill into the specifics on the resources. So now I have a report that show me all my over-allocated resources by name over the next 6 months. And I can start to determine who those people are and why they're over-allocated, and specifically what projects are creating that over-allocation. So for a resource manager or a portfolio manager, this information is absolutely fantastic. And you can see how visual, graphic it really is. It lets you drill down. Finally, if we're looking to get any kind of status reporting out, we can simply go into some of our status reports. And this is going to pull data from your project online system. This is a good example of a status report. So not only do we have data that's coming from our schedules, such as our milestones, our risks, and our issues, but we also have context, accomplishments, plan next period, executive summary, description. We can pull any of the data that's in Project Online and report off it using Power BI. Now, one of the really nice things about Power BI is we can share this. We can go out and share this with other people and say, send this out to some of my resources, the people, my executives. Here's our weekly status report. I can share that out. Or what I can also do is subscribe to it. And I can set up a subscription to Power BI that says, you know what, run this and manage that subscription and send this out to certain people on a regular basis. Here's it's going out to these people, so I'm going to send it out to Sunny and the team. Here's our report for the week, and I can say send it out every Monday at 9 a.m. in the morning and give them direct access to the report, or just give them a window into it through their email. So we can now subscribe to and actually create subscriptions around specific reports so people don't have to go to the report. It's actually more of a push versus a pull. Power BI also lets us go in there and look at the metrics. Also, we can export this information. So if we wanted to export it into a PDF, we can turn it into a PowerPoint deck for an executive briefing. We can even embed it in Project Online or SharePoint Online pages, which I'll show you next. So some really great capabilities within Power BI to get the data out and make it accessible to end users. Now, one of the really nice things about it is you can create different dashboards. So let's say we wanted our CIO, who's only concerned about the transformation program, to go in and just see a dashboard of just that program. What they can come in is go in and would be selected as the digital transformation program, and everything within this report will be reflective of that program. All the projects, all the risks. So we can see the risks on the program, the bubble chart. So we're just using the element, the program element, to filter down and look at resources, performance, and again, it's across the program. So we're limiting it down to a subset of the data in Project Online. So program reporting is something we can do that's very, very powerful. Additionally, if you wanted to integrate the data with another system, maybe you're using Jira or you're using VSTS or Azure DevOps or using ServiceNow, we can actually pull that information together and then look at that and present these as different dashboards or reports for different end users. So Power BI is a very, very powerful tool that lets us integrate the data, even provide specific to Agile projects. So let's say we have an Agile portfolio and we want to just allow someone to come in and look at just the projects that align with improving end user experience or data security, or projects that align with our strategic theme of insourcing or product enhancement, or maybe we're product centric in how we work Agile wise. We want to align with specific products we have across the organization. And then we just see reports and dashboards based off of that. So we can start to see timelines based off of products and project types, or a product we have and see all the projects that are within that. And we can visualize this information, say, just show me over the next 2 quarters, just those projects. So we can now drill into specific types of projects like Agile projects. Now, one of the nice things about Power BI is it's portable. And by that, we mean we can actually go into Project Online and we can deploy different dashboards. So let's say we wanted to show these dashboards directly from the Project Online user interface. All I do is click on that and I can now embed, this is a new Microsoft feature, I can embed a Power BI dashboard or report into a PWA web page through SharePoint Online. Now, through one click from Project Web App, I see any of the reports and dashboards I want to make accessible to this end user. And you can see it's fully interactive. This is Power BI working behind the scenes as a service. Or maybe I'm using Microsoft Teams. And I have a Teams site for that specific project. One of the great things about Teams is that's integrated with Power BI as well. So I can go in, and again, the same reports and dashboards I just saw that were within Power BI, accessible through PWA and my SharePoint pages, are also acceptable through the Teams user interface. So now I have one place to go, and again, same reports, same dashboards, same interactivity. You can see I can tab through these reports. So as more organizations start to adopt Teams as their core collaboration platform, understand that any of the reports you're building in Power BI are all accessible through the Teams user interface. And then finally, just from an email perspective, I can email out different reports and dashboards. I'm in my Outlook email now, and you'll see the integration here. I've subscribed to a specific dashboard or report. It's going to actually give me a visual into that, and then it'll take me right to that dashboard. Or here's my status report for the week, and it'll take me right over to that report. It's fully embedded in my email now. So you can see how all the components of Office 365 work very, very nicely together. Power BI is one of those core components, and once you've designed your infrastructure and your reporting, you can start to deploy that through Teams, through Project Online and PWA, through SharePoint Online, directly through email. Lots of capabilities with the tool. So some good practices for using these tools together. The first thing you want to do is sit down and decide on what your reporting needs are. What your requirements are going to drive everything around how you're going to use these tools together, what data you're going to need to extract. Does it make sense to pull it directly from Project Online? You want to stage it in a PPM data warehouse, or some combination of both. Decide on your reporting needs. That'll decide on the data access. It'll decide on the data model, the frequency of the data, and that drives your data architecture. You also want to design your PPM system as you're deploying Project Online with reporting in mind. Start with the end in mind first. Have that drive a lot of your requirements. A lot of times an executive will ask you for a specific report. You're going to need to get the underlying data. And if you haven't designed the system with the underlying data, it's going to be a challenge to get out. You're going to have to redesign your PPM system. But remember, reporting is really, it's a marathon. You're always going to be updating and changing reports. It's something that's always going to be happening and morphing. It's really a very iterative process. What you want to do when you're working in Power BI is make sure you design your data model or data models based off the business questions that are part of your reporting requirements. A lot of folks just drop a data model in and assumes it meets everybody's needs. It's actually the exact opposite. The actual reporting needs drive the data model, drive the data access, drive everything with the solution. But really, before you touch the technology, think about your requirements. Also, you want to think about really doing role-based reporting and building a meaningful set of reports for different types of users. You're going to have project managers who have a different need than executives, and have a different need than resource managers, and a different need than your financial analysts or your business analysts, a different need than your business development managers. So you want to really think about the end user, what information they need to consume, how they're going to use Power BI, and what data they're going to need, and you're going to come up with very different data models. An example would be a resource manager who needs time phase data across timesheets. That's a different level of reporting and different level of data access than an executive who just wants a dashboard showing you the status, health, and risk on all those projects. And to make it efficient, you want to have different reports for different users, different data models, and potentially a different refresh mechanism so that you have it refreshing on a basis based on when those users need that data. You also want to set up reports to allow for what we call optimum export. And that would be, a lot of executives like to sit down with a piece of paper. They want everything printed out. They want a PDF or a PowerPoint. Understand that from the beginning and design your reports around that. Other folks are great with just put it on the wall. Let's go through your status reports. Let's click through every one and let's come up with our action items and assign those. So you really want to set up your reports to allow for export if needed. And then a big question you want to ask when you're using Project Online is OData Direct good enough? Or do I need a full PPM data warehouse to get the fidelity in the data and the access to the data that I need? It really depends on your scenario and your circumstance. Both approaches are recommended by Microsoft depending on data access and reporting requirements. Again, it all gets back to what your needs are. And also, start thinking outside the box. Power BI is a service that is morphing. It's changing. They're adding unbelievable AI components. They're adding new visuals almost on a monthly basis. Subscribe to the Power BI newsletters that come out every month, and you'll see some amazing things. And understand that those can all be applied into how you analyze your Project Online data. It's really great. For instance, the other day, they just released functionality that allows you to do more deep analysis, visual analysis of your data, and also it's starting to apply artificial intelligence capabilities to that data. That's huge. So as you get more data in Power BI from Project Online, you can have the service actually make recommendations to you on these kind of reports and data models and start to ask new questions. So be prepared to think outside the box because the requirements always change. And just from a tool perspective, if you are looking to kickstart your process with Power BI reporting, we do have a tool called Hammerhead BI. And that provides direct access to OData with a pre-built data model, pulling data from Project Online with a pretty simple but complete data model. It has improved performance from the out-of-the-box reports that come with the Microsoft solution. And it also has some additional data like programs and portfolios that's not there and out of the box today. It also has some metrics and scheduling compliance and some best practice dashboards. So if you are looking to get started just with Project Online and Power BI Direct, we do have a solution for that. As well as if you are looking to go the data warehouse route, we do have a tool called Hammerhead PPM Data Warehouse. It has a full pre-built synchronization engine with an end user interface where someone in a PMO can go in and set up the synchronization, synchronize projects, resources, time phase data, set up the synchronization schedule. You can even do synchronization on publish. So when a project gets published, it actually pulls that data over. And it also pulls out additional data you might need. SharePoint list information. If you're using the Idea Hub, that information is there as well. It supports audit and compliance. A lot of times you need access to your data offline. So if you are looking for that kind of a solution, we do have a pre-built solution. It's called the PPM Data Warehouse, and it's sold as a product. So reach out to us if we can provide you with guidance on that. Or if you're looking for real help getting better reporting out of your PPM solution, we do offer a 2-hour PPM reporting assessment where we'll come in, we'll set up an online meeting, we'll ask a series of questions, and we'll help evaluate what kind of reports and dashboards, what kind of a data model, what's the right approach to data access and data architecture, review your current, look at the future state, and provide you with a set of recommendations as a deliverable. So if you're interested in that, please reach out to us, and we offer this free of charge to actually help you get to the next step with reporting. So we are going to send you out a copy of the survey. If you want to, at this point, we're going to open the floor to any questions anyone might have. I'm just going to stop the recording here in a second. And put up the PowerPoint as well. And Ariel, I'm going to open the floor here to see if anyone has any questions. So let's open the IM window. Okay, and we're going to enable IM for the meeting now. So we'll answer any questions anyone might have.
Thanks, Rob. Like Rob said, the IM window is now open, so feel free to go ahead and pass on any questions that you guys had from the webinar.